All right, we've talked a lot about different kinds of texturing. We've talked a lot about the baking process, and we've even actually kind of gone over what pretty much most of these different maps do inside your baking scene and how they can help you with your texturing process. Now, what we're going to do now is exporting the textures that we've created, analyzing what those textures are and how they can be used, and then we're actually going to go through what the maps do and how we can combine them. So let's say we have finished our texturing process, everything is done, we're happy with it, and we want to take it out of Substance Painter. All we need to do is go to File and Export Textures. And up here, you're going to select everything you want to export texture to for, so all of your texture sets over here. You're going to choose where you want to export them. So I'm going to go here in this folder I've prepared. And you want to choose the template that you want to use. Now, the template that we're going to be using is going to be, let's find it, Unity HD Render Pipeline, Metallic Standard. We're going to be using that one. And I'm actually also going to export using a custom one that I have in order to explain to you what a lot of the textures do. But for now, let's start with this Unity one, Unity HD Render Pipeline, Metallic Standard. Also, the image type that we use for games is Targa. And bye, guys. The image type that we use for games is a Targa. And the reason for this is that they simply allow us to do a little bit more than other image types, and they have no compression. But I'm going to keep it as PNG for now. Just keep in mind that the ones we use for games is Targa, and that's the final one that I want you guys to export. The only reason I'm using PNG now is so that I can open it and show it to you guys a little easier. You choose the texture size that you want to use. 2048 is a good one if you're making one singular asset, because you get a lot of details. I'm going to use 1024 by now, for now. And the padding here, you want to change it to dilation transparent. You don't want to keep it on infinite. Dilation transparent, and do your dilation somewhere between 2 and 4. After that's done, all you got to do is click export, and it's going to do the rest for you. Now, let's open up that folder. It's on desktop, map types. And you can see that for every one of our texture sets here, it has exported a set of maps, depending on what template we chose for the exporter. So, and you can see that it actually names it as well. So our Lambert 1 is still called Lambert 1 here. So we have a base map for Lambert 1, we have a mask map for Lambert 1, and we have a normal map for Lambert 1. Whereas for the rest, we have the same thing, but for the rope area as well. So let's open up these maps and see what they are, and then we're going to show you how to combine them. So let's open up Photoshop here. And in the meantime, I'm going to prepare something here. There we go. So what we have here, metallic, AO, and gloss. Opacity, excellent. Okay, so make a new folder in the size that we exported, 1024 and 1024. And let's drag all of our maps in here. Or actually, instead of dragging them in, let's literally drag them into Photoshop like this. So you can see that we have a little bit of really excessive padding here, but this is essentially the normal map for our bell area. And you can see that it has all of the details that came from the high resolution normal object. And it also has other details that we've sculpted in ourselves. Like you can see in here, there's a lot of details that I put in with the generators, and you can see them. If I get rid of this, you can see them in here. These kinds of details are showing up as well. And here they are in the normal map. So our normal map is going to be able to show all of this onto our low poly, either in Maya, Unity, or Sketchfab, where we're going to show them. We also got this base map, and this is all of our colors from Substance Painter exported to our UVs as well. And also in here, if you go to channels, if we had a opacity map, so if we had something that's telling us that a part of our model is transparent or invisible, think if you got something like a potion bottle, then we're going to actually have an extra channel in here called an alpha. It's going to look like this. It's going to have that map inside as well. And then we have this crazy thing. And this map is actually a combination of different maps put together. So if I go into channels, the very top one, the red, this is our metallic map. This is going to tell us if anything is metallic or not. Now, this is a weird looking one because it's used in Unity. Usually it doesn't look like this, and I'll show you what it looks like later on. But this is the metallic map. And the green map, I believe this is our ambient occlusion. The blue map, I'm not sure. I need to check on here what it says. Export textures. What is that one? We're on metallic standard. I believe that is a gloss map, a glossiness map, which is similar to a roughness map. It's choosing how and what kind of shininess we get on certain parts of the model. Now, these are specifically made to be used in the Unity game engine, right? This is what the preset that we are using in Substance Painter. We're using the Unity HD render pipeline metallic. So these maps are meant to be used for Unity. Now, I want to export them again using a different template. It's going to make it a lot clearer what a lot of these maps do. So if I just go here and close all of these, and then go in here and delete all of this. And I'm just going to go into Substance Painter and do this again, export, just because I want you to see what they are. Very quick, and put all, oops, hold on. I only want the bell ones. Let's put all these in here. Okay, so what do we have now? Now these are more standard. These are not for Unity specifically. These are just general exports of all of the different bits of information we can get out of our asset in separate maps, not combined with channels, just the maps, and showing you what they are. So as before you saw, we have our base color here. This is all the base color from our object here. So if I go here to my UVs, have this object here, and I change the map, the material viewer to base color, it's going to show us only the base color. And obviously, you can go see on Photoshop, it is the exact same thing here. You also have the metallic, showing which parts of the model are going to be metallic. Go on Substance Painter again, change it to metallic, and you can see that we get the exact same result. This is showing which areas of the model are going to show up as if they are metallic. And you can see I've done some quite intense details on the bottom here, whereas the bell itself is almost completely metallic. Let's continue on. We have our ambient occlusion, which exports really weird for some reason. But if I go back to Painter again, I'm wondering whether I can make that visible. I don't think I can, but I can show you the original. I can show you the original ambient occlusion, which is this. So I can't show you the combined one, but you can also see it on the 3D model and what that map will represent. And just like I've explained to you before, the ambient occlusion represents where we have darkening on the model. White means there is not, well, rather, white is where there's no darkening. Dark means there's going to be darkening. The metallic map shows us where things are going to be metallic. So things that are white are completely metallic. Things that are black are not. And I'll show you in Photoshop as well. We have our roughness map, which shows us what the actual rough value is going to be in different parts of the model. So things which are white are very rough. They do not reflect light in a direct way like a mirror. They reflect it in a scattered way like a bark of wood or a rubber. Whereas things which are very dark are not rough, and they reflect things more directly, similar to a mirror or a piece of glass. And let's go back here and go to our roughness, and you can see that this is our roughness value at the moment. Notice how these creases are very light on the roughness value, meaning they don't reflect as much. The central areas are very dark, meaning they reflect stronger. Let me go to the material and notice the lighter areas are very, very shiny. The darker areas are not. The darker areas are not reflecting the light the same way. And that is because of that roughness value that you see here. The darker it is, the more shiny it will be. Let's do it up here as well. You can see this very dark area is going to be very shiny compared to the area around it, which is not. You see that little strip here that's not reacting to the light as much, all based on the roughness value that's placed there. See? So that's what they do. That's what the maps are. That's how they can be used. I'll show you also the normal map. Sometimes the normal map is quite subtle, but as you can see, it does have discoloration here and a lot of details which are visible, though very faintly. And these are not maps which you use to help you texture anymore. These are the maps which are as a result of your texturing. And all of these maps can now be used in your 3D scenes. So for example, you can put them in Maya, or you can put them in Sketchfab, you can put them in Unity. Although in Unity, we use those specialized ones. Now, I'm going to very quickly go into Sketchfab here. And I'm going to actually upload the bell that I've been working on. So desktop, let's get the low poly. Actually, let's get the low poly from here. Upload that. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. We have to wait for the 3D settings. In the meantime, whilst waiting for that to load, so I can put all of those on there, I'm going to create a new 1024 like I did before. And I'm going to grab all of them and put them in here because I want to combine them, right? I'm just going to press enter until they all appear here. Right, so you can see here I have the roughness for both the rope and the main model. I have the opacity for both the rope. Actually, only the rope has the opacity map here. Everything else should be visible. We have the normal map for both. We have the metallic for both. We have the base color for both, and we have ambient occlusion for both. So what I'm going to do is one by one, I'm going to, here in the roughness, I want to actually rasterize them as well. You see they have that little icon there. It means they're not rasterized. I'm going to rasterize these layers so I can edit them. And I'm going to go down to the base color. I'm going to start with the base color, actually. And I'm just going to go to the rope that's here. I'm going to go to the magic wand. And I'm going to increase my, reduce my tolerance to 0. And I'm just going to click in an empty space. So what this is going to do, it's going to select every pixel that does not have color in the color map. Unless you've textured something to be completely black, this is a way you can essentially remove all of the black pixels that are in that separated map, and it's finally going to bring them two together. But before you click anything else, after you've done that, you might as well go around to every single other map that's from the rope and do the exact same thing. And this is a really good way to very quickly, oops, they're not visible, so it's not going to work. So you can see I can do it to the roughness, you know, and now it's going to show the roughness. I can do it to the opacity, and that doesn't make a difference because I need to add the extra opacity myself. I can do it to the normal, so now it's going to fit with the normal. I can do it to the metallic, although, you know, it's not metallic, so it doesn't matter. And the ambient occlusion, of course. And now it's all going to fit together. And I can just go one by one, make them all visible. I think for the opacity here, I need to add another one below it that's just completely white. That should work fine. And now I can just grab both roughness and I can merge the layers. I can grab both opacities and merge the layers. I can grab both normals, merge the layers, both metallics, merge the layers, and so on. Merge layers. And I'm going to save, and I can call this bell underscore roughness, and opacity and normal and all of that for all of them. I'm going to save this, save to my computer. I'm going to put it in the tutorial. I'm going to call it texture combining. I spelled something else, but that's fine. And then one by one, I'm going to go through and I'm going to start I'm going to save as, right, in the same area. But I'm going to right-click and create a folder called Combined Textures. And in here, one by one, I'm going to save all of these out as targas, which I can't do at the moment. So in fact, I'm just going to export it instead. File, export as, and I want it, fine, we'll do PNG for now. We'll do PNG for now. There's an issue with the Photoshop mode. For some reason, it doesn't export as a targa, so we'll do PNG for now. You can tell I'm a little annoyed about it. It was going so well. All right, let's export this mace layer and combine textures, and we're going to call bell underscore roughness. And we're going to do the same here, file, export bell underscore opacity. I know it didn't put it in the right folder, I just noticed that. Export bell underscore normal. We have metallic, bell underscore metallic, and just two more guys. Color, base, and then the last one is ambient occlusion. Let's save that. All right, bring all these back, save this, and we can close Photoshop now. So now that I've shown you like kind of all of these base textures in their base form, which is another way to export them, I'm actually going to apply them to the bell model that I put in here. Now notice one mistake I made when exporting this bell model to Sketchfab. I forgot to get rid of its actual material groups, because look, I combined all the textures now over here. I don't need them to be in separate groups anymore, but I can just re-import the model, which I'm actually going to do. Let's go back and re-upload, and I'm going to go back to the very basic here, re-upload the model here, and it's going to show up there after it's ready. Okay, guys, I think this is going to be the last video. I've kind of managed to kind of quickly cover both what a lot of the different maps do and how to export them, how to combine them. And now very quickly, I'm even going to show you how to put it in Sketchfab. All you need to do is check model, choose the re-uploaded model, and edit the 3D settings. Okay, and now I'm going to show you how to actually edit it in Sketchfab as well, and then we should be done for now with this series. So after I've uploaded the model and chosen to edit its 3D settings, I'm going to get in essentially this view here. Now the first thing I'm going to do is choose whether I'm going to work in lit or shadeless view, because it depends on whether you're doing a PBR model or a stylized model. This is going to be PBR, so I'm going to keep it lit. You can change your field of view. By default, I'll just keep it here for the moment. We don't need our wireframe, and by God, we need a better background. So I'm just going to choose something blue, dark, and unsaturated so that I can see what is going on. In fact, I'll probably choose red, dark, and unsaturated. Now I can slightly better see what is going on with this object. Then we can go to the next part at the top here, which is the lighting. And by default, I would leave the lighting just as it is, and we will come back to it later on. We can go to materials, and as you can see, I only have the whole object now rather than it separated, which is going to work better for us since we already combined all our textures. And I'm going to go on base color, choose texture, and import the textures that I want to use. I'm going to go and find where I put them all, and I'm literally going to select them all and click open. And that's going to make them all available for me to pick from. I'm going to start with the base color, and voila! You can see that by putting our base color map in the base color channel, it has made it appear on our asset, which is what we wanted. Now you can see how that model was textured in a way that's almost kind of suitable for stylized texturing anyway, since it doesn't look awful even just with the base color, but this is not enough. So let's go to our metalness and insert our metal map as well. And now this is going to change how it looks even further. You can rotate the light by holding Alt and right click, and I can rotate the light around it to see how it's going to look. Now you can see we have this little jaggedness over here. We're gonna fix that later on, don't worry. Let's go down here to roughness and choose our roughness map as well. Now you can see that it's going to change how shiny certain areas appear compared to others, which is very interesting. And now we're going to go down here to our normal map over here. And we've got to turn it on, make sure we're using a normal map. And then we got to click our normal map here. It's going to make it appear. And is it facing the wrong way or not? It's hard to tell. Give me a minute, because it is hard to tell. I think we don't need to flip it. Yeah, I think that's correct. Let me look at the bottom here. It should occur. Hopefully it's working well. Also, why don't we have a map exported for our bottom piece here well enough? That's something I need to check. Might be a mistake on my end. Anyway, we have that. And one more thing that we want to add here is the ambient occlusion, which should have been exported as well. Now we have the ambient occlusion. And now we have all of our kind of maps applied to our model here, and we can view our model in Sketchfab. And as you can see, it does not look quite as good as it does in Substance Painter. And that is normal, that is common. That's because the lighting and the way these things are calculated in Substance Painter is completely different. But don't be alarmed, it is something that we can address when it happens. Okay, so we've added all our textures here. We can go back to lighting if we want, and we can add a ground shadow if we want to, which I'm not going to do. We can change what kind of light we actually want to use, what kind of background light. My recommendation is to go for something that does not violate the look of your model too much. Studio is usually something that does provide an interesting result, but in this case seems to actually be quite detrimental. So instead of Studio, let's take a look at what else we could possibly use. Studio Soft is a bit too bright, but remember that you can actually come back down here and change the brightness and also the light intensity and shadow bias. You can lower the intensity, increase the brightness, and get an overall brighter result. Also change the, how strong the shadows are and the orientation of the lighting, of course, which you can do with Alt and dragging as well. You can also add additional lights yourself if you wish and position them. And after all of that, you can go and add some post-processing. So you can add screen place reflections, which I do not recommend. You can add all of this stuff. For me personally, usually what I do, especially for slightly stylized assets, is this is not, is this sticking out or is this not sticking out? This is like a dilemma for me. I need to check. It's so difficult to tell. I think this is correct now. Yeah, I think this is more correct. I don't think it was correct before. Yeah, that's better. Anyway, let's go back to post-processing. Usually what I do for post-processing is I increase the sharpness a little bit, just a bit, make it a little clearer to see. You can see a difference, how it just mutes itself a little bit when I turn it off. I'll zoom in a little for you guys to see better. And don't go crazy, of course, because that's not what we want. Just a little bit is good. So you can see it a little clearer. You can add chromatic aberration if you want. Just make sure it's very minimal, but it's really dependent on the asset you're making. A vignette, I usually wouldn't recommend. It's just a little extra dramatic touch, which, you know, if if you're making some kind of dramatic scene, perhaps a little more useful. Bloom can be useful because it makes a very nice shiny look. If I was making a ring, this would be really appropriate. But even with bloom, you want to make sure that you kind of lower the threshold a little bit, lower the intensity a little bit, and kind of check yourself on how strong the radius is. Because you don't want it to be too excessive. Now this is looking very, very metallic, whereas before it was, just looking a little shiny. So now we have a very bright metallic look. Usually solid metal with a direct light on top of it will have a big solid white highlight, whereas before we just had a very muted highlight. Still solid white, but very very grainy. And if you really wanted, you could actually play a little bit with your color balance to get a slightly different overall look for your model, but this is very, very volatile, and I do not recommend messing with it unless you know what you're doing. It's also very strong in Sketchfab, so be careful with how it actually works. Let's put that back to 0. Go to highlights, maybe just marginally change the highlights. Now I've slightly changed the color value of this thing to something that has a slightly different mood. Bring it back to normal. After you're done, you don't really have any animation or virtual reality or anything. But after you're done, you pretty much just have to pick a view that you want it to be seen by default from. And then you can publish it, and you can send me the version as well, the link to the version. There's also a way that we can take screenshots if we want. I'll just save settings for now. I'm going to copy this information here, and I'm going to go and literally just Google Sketchfab screenshots. It's going to open up this lab. You simply need to load the scene by putting in a URL. And sometimes if it's not published, it's going to be a little difficult to actually load the URL. And I think actually if I save settings and exit, let me open it up from view my model. There we go. Let's see if I can use this link to actually load the screenshot taker. No, so you will have to publish your model in order to be able to take a screenshot from it. I will just show you on one of mine. Before I do that, just show you that you have your little inspector here, and you can inspect all of the maps that you applied to it if you want to see how they affect it. Really useful. Even check your UVs if you want to. So let me just show you the final bit, which is taking screenshots of your model. Gosh, this is a long video. I'm going through everything. I've shown you this bot before in a previous kind of session. So for this little guy, I can copy its URL. Since he's already published, I can put it in here. Sorry, that's here. It's going to show it, and then I can put it in the position that I want, and I can export a screenshot into post-processing on and off. So I'm going to put it here. Now I have this screenshot, and I can then rotate it, adjust everything. Export screenshot. And if I wanted to, I could even kind of add a wireframe, and then once more export the screenshot, which is going to look like this. And even after all of that, you can go in Photoshop, you can pop them in. Downloads. Let's try this one first. And then because our solid background is there, we can even add the other one, and we can do something like, if we wanted to, we could do something like getting rid of part of the wireframe to have this look like, wow, look at our wireframe. Or we could literally just grab this guy and let's get rid of the rest. We could grab this guy and we could literally just have both of them like this because our background is the same color. And in fact, I could probably even grab this original one. You shouldn't scale your presentation pages, but I just want to get rid of this part. Rasterize it. And you can even start doing stuff like this. But anyway, we'll get to presentation at a later date, but I simply wanted to show you the full process since I'm already on this endless kind of rant on the rest of this stage and the rest of Substance and what I want you guys to finish for this part of the project. So I hope that was useful. We managed to finish everything in one video. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.